Hello, this is a quick tutorial on how to use events in Hytale. I will assume you've already set up a basic plugin. If you don't know how to do that, I've got a tutorial to set up your plugin, and I'll link it in the description. To start, there's two kinds of events, normal events and ECS events. First, I'll show normal events. You can register them in your setup method using getEventRegistry.registerGlobal, the event you're listening for, and then you pass in a lambda. What this means is you can either pass in a method. So right here, I've got my listener, which is a class, and I have two colons, and then OpenGUI, which is a static function which takes in player ready event. And this just sends welcome to the server whenever the player joins. Alternatively, you can just pass in event and then an arrow and then brackets, and then this code will run whenever the player joins also. So here I'm saying hi there when the player joins. So as you can see, when I join the server, it sends both welcome to the server and hi there. The other kind of events in Hytale are ECS events. These are a bit more complicated, but here's an example. To register it, you need to call getEntityStoreRegistry.registerSystem and then pass in the instance of your class. So this is an example of detecting when the player breaks a block. My class is player mind system. It needs to extend entity-event system, and then you put a bracket, entity store, and then the event you want to listen for, and then another bracket. And right here, you also need to put the event you're listening for. This code will be in the description, so if it looks a bit much to write out, then you can just copy paste it. This function here will be called whenever the event happens, so whenever the player breaks a block. This is just some code to get the player from the event, and then we send a message that you cannot break blocks, and we cancel the event. And down here, each system needs to implement the getQuery method, and here I'm just returning query.and player.getComponentType. What this means is that the handle function will only be called for entities with the player component. So basically, it'll only be called for players. Also, one thing to note is that even though this says @nullable, it can't actually return null. That's just a bug. If you don't want any query, then you can just do query.and and leave the parameter blank, and it'll basically act as if there's nothing. And it'll run for all entities, no matter what their components are. So if I go into Hytale and I try breaking blocks, I can't break anything, and it says you cannot break blocks. Hytale does have quite a lot of events. I spent a few minutes making a quick list of some of the more important events. All these are just normal events that you can register just like this using the register global function. And all these ones here are ECS events, which work basically the exact same as this player mind system. There's some non-entity ECS events. These work pretty much the same, but slightly differently. If you want a tutorial, I've got a video on this, which you can watch, which I'll also link in the description. Thanks for watching. If you want me to make any more tutorials, please make a comment. Also, please remember to subscribe.